What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry here, the Ginger Runner, for another Ginger Runner Live. This is episode number 14, and in the lower left hand for me, right hand for you, corner, we have two gentlemen. We are joined once again by Mr. Billy Yang, a.k.a. at LA Runner, and tonight our very special guest is an amazing runner, extremely talented, just a badass SoCal dude. He's awesome, Jimmy Dean Freeman, and we're going to talk to him and about his upcoming 100-mile race challenge. He's got the name for it, and it's this huge undertaking. I can't wait to talk to him about it, the training involved, why he's doing it, and all that good stuff. Tonight, welcome to Ginger Runner Live. Ginger Runner. Yay! Welcome, gentlemen. In the lower right-hand corner, or your right, my left, first and foremost, Mr. Billy Yang returns onto the show. What's going on, Billy? How are you tonight?
What is going on, Ethan?
Good to see you, dude.
Good to see you, and good to see you too, Jimmy.
What's up, Billy?
And like I mentioned, here he is, the man of the hour, Jimmy Dean Freeman. How are you, Jimmy Dean?
I'm good, but I prefer the man of 15 seconds.
Wow, word gets around quick.
Yeah, wow. Those rumors are spreading like wildfire. And
I'd like to keep it focused on much smaller time increments because that's about all I can focus for.
Okay, so we'll stick with the first 15 seconds. If you can make it through another 15, that'd be great, because we got a lot to talk about today.
Do this. I'm already tired.
He's going to fall asleep at some point during tonight's show. If you are tuning in live and watching the video stream, welcome, everybody. And if this is your first time, welcome again. Join us in the chat room on the YouTube link. You'll be able to ask questions of Jimmy, of Billy, of myself throughout the entire broadcast. If we don't get to him during the live show, we'll get to him in the post show. So Jimmy Dean, here's just a little bit about him. Finished 11 100-mile races with only DNFing twice, which is incredible. He's never finished 6 100s in a row. This will be the first time he does it this year, and I'm saying he will do it because he will do it. He founded the Coyote running program in 2008, which is a SoCal running group, running club, and coaching system as well. We'll talk about that during the show. And over 24 ultra finishes since 2005. He's a running coach. He's a writer and a keynote speaker. I am stoked to finally have you on the show, Jimmy. I'm a big fan of you. Just a real big Jimmy Dean fan.
I'm probably a bigger fan of you, Ethan, so it's a mutual feeling, brother.
I hope that we both have our pants off and we're both jerking ourselves off. And Billy, you're great too.
This is only waist up.
So I kind of want to get right into it. One of the main reasons I wanted to bring you on the show was because a lot of us were talking about 100 milers that are coming up this year. Billy has one. Billy is running the AC 100, and it's on my list. I don't know if it'll happen in 2014. I just don't know if I'm ready for it, but it's...
You're on the roster, though, yeah?
I am not. I'm not on any roster, but it is one of those...
It definitely won't happen in 2014.
Well, I meant like not AC, but just running 100 miles.
Oh, okay, got it.
But 2015, it will happen, and it's been something that I've been dreaming about for years. So when Billy and I were talking about AC 100 and his upcoming 100-mile race, then it was like, oh wait, Jimmy is actually running 6 100-mile races, and you're calling it the original Six Hundo challenge, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the more commonly known challenge in the 100-mile genre is the Grand Slam of ultra running.
Right.
Which incorporates 4 of the original 600s.
Okay.
It's basically one 100-mile mountain race every month. So it starts with Western States in June. It goes to Vermont 100 in July, the Leadville 100 in August, and the Wasatch 100 in Utah in September.
Ugh.
Well, I've been on the starting line for the Angeles Crest 100 5 times. And I signed up for it again this year. I'm seeking my 5th finish in 6 tries. And when I got into Western States, I determined that I definitely wanted to do the Grand Slam of ultra running, and I wasn't going to not do Angeles Crest. And when I realized I was doing 5 of the original 6 I looked up the timing for Old Dominion, which was the second 100 to exist, but precedes this whole challenge by 3 weeks. And there's a challenge that was known as the Last Great Race that happened from 1989 until 2011. And that challenge has since been retired, or the race director is no longer doing it. So Andy Kumeda, a good buddy of mine, he did the Last Great Race in 2007, and he finished 5 of the original 6, and he said as soon as he got back into Western States he would go for it, and I told him, hey, if we get into Western States the same year, let's go for it together. So Andy and I will be attempting the original Six Hundo Challenge together this summer.
Which is incredible. For those of you guys who don't know, Jimmy kind of gave you a brief overview of the 6 100-mile races. Here are the dates and some of the differences. I just asked him before the show because I was curious, because I knew they were close together. I didn't realize they were this close together. So on June 7th, that's coming up. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Jimmy now is because his first 100-mile race, the Old Dominion, is coming up on June 7th. 3 weeks later, the Western States. Everyone has heard of Western States 100. 3 weeks after that, the Vermont 100. 2 weeks after that, AC 100. 13 days after that, Leadville 100. Then 19 days after that, Wasatch. My mind is blown, because just being so new to ultra running and this whole thing, I run a 50-mile race. I need to recover for like 3 months. You are training your body to be able to do 6 of these within, what is that, 4 months total?
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, it's 13 weeks.
That's incredible. Now, are you doing anything different with your training? Because you've obviously completed 100 miles before. I remember last year you actually did Leadville, and right before that, what was the 100 you did, but right before Leadville?
Angeles Crest and Leadville, 13 days apart last year.
13 days apart. What was that like, and how are you going into this year with this bigger challenge differently? Or are you going into doing something differently?
Well, I took Leadville on last year knowing that I was going to do Angeles Crest to test out what I thought would be the most difficult turnaround.
Okay.
I also subscribed to that 3-month recovery rule, and up until last year had never put 200-mile races less than 8 weeks apart, but traditionally 3 or 4 months was in between each time I would take on those races. Okay. I've finished 3 inside of a 12-month period, but never 3 within the same calendar year. So I kind of looked at this as sort of the next stretch goal, the next challenge to get sort of outside of my comfort zone. And it seemed really exciting to sort of go on a history tour back and forth across the United States with the original 600s. You know, there's probably over 150 100-mile races worldwide now. And to do the first 6 while they still exist, the timing couldn't have been better, because it does look like Vermont might not exist after this year.
Wow, really? I didn't hear that news.
It's not formally news. I know that the race director has talked about retiring, and they don't have someone in line, and the course might not be intact after this year. So.
Okay.
Who knows? You never know what happens from year to year. We don't even know that all 6 races are going to happen this year.
Right.
You know, over the last 6 or 7 years, only one person has been able to complete all of the 6 races in the same year. David Snipes in Virginia, and it was his second attempt, from what I heard. So Andy and I are really stoked to be in all 6 races, and hope that all the logistics work out, that each race will happen, and we'll both be at the starting line healthy with a puncher's chance of doing it.
Yeah, that was actually another thing I wanted to talk about, is that it's not like just anybody can do these 600-mile races. You have to get into these 600-mile races. How big of a challenge is that for you?
Well, considering I've been applying for Western States for 9 years, and I have never been selected in the lottery. I'm 0 for 6.
Wow.
It's not an easy thing just to get into Western States, and having all the rest of them line up takes planning and patience and perseverance and a little bit of luck. So back on the training question that I sort of glossed over, I gave myself a little bit of a longer base build-up this year, and last year my training for AC was a little bit more condensed. but my main focus has been staying uninjured. So I'll do a couple of big weeks in a row, but for me, big might only be 10 to 15 hours of training in a week. I've done precious few doubles, just kind of trying to keep the quality up and not worrying as much about the quantity of training.
And is that different than how you've done it in the past? Like when you said that you were kind of cramming, not want to say cramming for AC, but more condensed version. Was it different?
Well, you have to look at what your ultimate goal is. And last year, I had my two focal events inside of 2 weeks. So you can ramp up much quicker and not have to worry about maintaining peak fitness for very long.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to maintain peak for a longer period of time, you have to ramp into it far slower and have a longer base training phase. So after Leadville last year, I was pretty much useless to everyone for about 10 days. I was completely devastated and wrecked. And that devastation started with about 16 miles to go in Leadville. My most brutal, half marathon that I've ever endured, 16 miles, was the last 16 at Leadville. I had to take an hour at a checkpoint to piece myself back together in the medical tent, and then I, crawled for the last 13 miles. So it's all a matter of I have to maintain a peak for 3 months now, so I didn't want to go into the first event in peak fitness. I wanted to have an opportunity to continue to peak as each event happened. So I feel like I'm going into Old Dominion a little bit undertrained, and I'm looking at it as the focal event is the final one. I'm really looking at Wasatch. And I saw a question come across the board. Race director Jamil Curry is with us, and he asked me which one of the 6 am I the most afraid of, and it's definitely the final one, Wasatch. I wake up in cold sweats frequently at race.
I mean, the course is already brutal. It's at altitude, I believe.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Quite a bit of altitude, plus just running through that front range. Are you going into any of these races differently than you have in the past? I mean, obviously you've been to AC a number of times. Are you going to race AC differently now that it's race number 4?
Yeah. I'm looking at this thing as a single 600-mile race that just happens to be in 6 stages. And so, yeah, my overall game plan is finish. And I'm trying to find a balance between how much more relaxed I go into each one, because I feel like on one hand, you can really tire yourself running for a peak time. On the other hand, a 30-hour event takes more of a toll on the body than a 20-hour event. So finding that balance between not going too hard but not taking it too easy either, because the cumulative fatigue from the time on your feet and sleep deprivation will definitely take a toll as well. And looking at how I manage the last 25 miles of each one of those events, that will be distinct from how I normally do it. When I get to mile 90 of race number 2, I'm not going to run like I have 10 miles to go. I'm going to run like I have 410 miles to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that perspective. I have a micro version of what you're doing at Squamish this year, Squamish 50-50, which is a 50-miler on Saturday and a 50K on Sunday. And that's kind of what I've been trying to tell myself is what you have planned for your races, is that it's not just a 50-mile race and a 32-mile race or whatever. It's an 80-mile race, so treat the whole weekend as one big chunk and do what you need to do to get through the whole chunk to finish, rather than, oh, I did the first one, I'm just going to try to suffer through the second one, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Ethan, don't downplay. That's going to be on some pretty fucking gnarly terrain too. So
it's no Wasatch. Wasatch.
It's all relative, right? It's all relative.
Yeah.
And I also look at Ethan. It's probably less challenging in some regards to run the 80 miles of that race straight through than it is to take the time off and let the body get stiff and let some of those waste products accumulate. So
I agree. I think it is. I think that's part of the challenge, is that they split it, because you're running those 2 races. Everyone that I've talked to is like, oh man, I wish it was just an 80-mile race.
Yeah.
that would be easier than splitting it. So
I do have experience in a stage race. About a year and a half ago, I did the Tahoe Super Triple, which was
oh yeah,
Friday morning, a marathon Saturday morning, and then a 72-mile road race around Lake Tahoe Saturday night. So looking at how I made adjustments in that race, it's given me some indication of how to sort of plan for this.
Josh Spector has made an appearance and he disappears, and he can't hear us, so he has no idea what we're saying about him.
No, and we're not roommates. I just happen to be over at his place.
You're lovers.
We are secret lovers, absolutely.
But yeah, I want talk about that more, Jimmy. Actually, if you don't mind switching your earbuds, because I think your other earbud has the microphone.
There, how's that?
Oh, so much
better.
Oh, much better. Yeah, so you were talking about the Tahoe Triple. That's actually like a perfect micro version of what you are also about to do. You know, it's kind of a crammed together over the course of 3 days. Can you describe it once again? Billy was talking to
the
Josh.
Tahoe Super Triple is a part of the Lake Tahoe Marathon and related events. And the Lake Tahoe Marathon, they have a Tahoe Triple, which is 3 marathons, 3 consecutive days. The Tahoe Super Triple is Friday morning marathon, Saturday morning marathon, and then Saturday night 72-mile race into Sunday morning.
Yeah, no big deal.
So it's like 125 miles at altitude over rolling roads. It was definitely a very unique event and experience.
I believe you ended up getting first place in that. Am I correct?
I had a good day.
You had a good day, or 3 days, I guess.
Yeah, a good weekend.
A good weekend. How did you learn anything from that weekend? Was it? I mean, obviously it was challenging, but is there anything you can pull from that weekend and maybe use over the course of the Six Hundo challenge?
At some point, the legs are just going to fail, and you don't know when that's going to be, and you have to have your mind wrapped around being able to continue to move forward when maybe running isn't a possibility any longer.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, at one point during that race, my stomach failed repeatedly, and then my legs kind of went south not too long after that. So I feel like having that experience, knowing that I can still finish, and that ultimately the time goal isn't the ultimate goal, it's the completion of each one of the 6, because you fail at any one of the 6 and the whole thing goes down the drain.
Wow. Jamil in the chat room asks Jimmy, if you could choose any 600 milers to be in the last great race, if you had the say, what would they be?
Well, it's hard to say because these are the original 6. If I was going to choose or create a new series, you know, the original 6, it's kind of like in hockey. There's, you know, 30 teams, and the original 6 will always be the original 6.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to create a challenge that had a lot of variety and saw a lot of different conditions, I would definitely have to include the Javelina 100-mile, which is a shout-out to Jamil and Nick Curry, the race directors that are out there. And Angeles Crest has always been high on my list for the beauty of the course and the challenge of the terrain.
Yeah.
I would probably try and balance it out by throwing stuff on the East Coast and the West Coast. Again, if I were to create a challenge, I'd look for variety. So I'd probably throw in a 100-mile road race like the Keys 100 in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
That one has a lot of humidity, and you can run a fast time if you manage the heat well. Western States, with it being as difficult as it is to get into and already being a part of a couple challenges, I would probably leave out of this one.
Mm-hmm.
And throw in a lesser-known 100, Rio del Lago, which is, you know, also a brutal late fall, like Indian summer type of race. And then get up into the mountains a little bit more. You know, Wasatch is tough to complete and scares the heck out of a lot of people, so maybe have Wasatch in there. And Oil Creek That's another favorite.
Oh, there you go.
Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
A lot of good experiences out at Oil Creek. So, but again, the challenge of these things is getting into each one of the races, just planning the logistics and the trips and the flights and the hotels and the rental cars and trying to have support crews at all of them.
Yeah, do you have a good crew that's kind of following you from race to race, or is it going to be dependent on location and you'll have a different crew each time?
Andy and I are sort of planning to be relatively self-sufficient for the 4 non-California hundreds. We both have pretty decent crews for Western States and Angeles Crest. I've got a few people that have offered their support for Leadville, which is nice. Just got news last week that my dad might be flying out for it, so that'll be
Oh, that'd be
cool.
great. Nice.
Kate's going to be there for the first one and the last one and the California ones, so I'll be without her at Leadville and Vermont. I've got a couple of people who have offered it at Vermont and in Virginia, so we're just going to piece something together each time and have some, utilize the ultra running community and the people that are local to those areas. And as people sort of get interested or excited about this challenge, Andy and I will definitely welcome some people on board.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a huge ultra community that watches this show. So if any of you guys out there are in any of those locations or want to come support Jimmy, I'm sure he would love to see some people out there cheering his name on, helping them get through those hundos. And they can find you on Twitter too. So it's at Coach Jimmy Dean. You can always tweet him and say, "Hey, I want to bring you beer for the finish line of Wasatch. Can we do that?" I'm sure he would gladly accept it. Billy,
and whiskey will always be accepted.
There you go. Billy, you're running AC. This is your first time running a hundo.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Dean has run AC a number of times. Pick his brain. Pick his brain. Do you have any questions for Jimmy, the expert here?
Jimmy's interesting because he's. I don't think you've ever come into AC with a ton of mileage and a ton of running, and it actually segues into a question that I have, which is, it's not just a running club that you're running. You are a coach. You have to lead some of these weekend runs. How do you balance that, or how have you balanced that in your leading up to your training for the Big Six?
Well, it's part of what I do and part of what I love to do, so it doesn't feel like work when you're coaching people that are passionate about what they do and you're passionate about getting them to their goals. So, a lot of times on our weekend practice, I'll get some miles in with the team, and I'll bounce back and forth between a handful of different people on an out and back or a loop, and then I'll get my more focused run on the opposite day of the weekend.
Yeah.
As I said earlier in this segment, I don't do a ton of double longs. I generally will space them apart and do like Friday, Sunday, or Saturday, Monday.
Is there a reason for that? Is that just like preference on your end, or is it actual results? You get better results.
I feel like there's a lot of people that overemphasize the needing to put oneself into the gauntlet of mental and physical devastation to experience something similar to what one will experience on race day.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of come at it from the opposite direction, which is your mental and psychological and emotional energies, the well only goes so deep. So if you're suffering through, a run every week or suffering through an entire week just trying to put in 100 miles, you're going to that well, and when you need that energy and those resources on race day, they might not be available to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe that it's possible to simulate 100-mile race devastation in training. It's not practical. You're not going to do an 80-mile training run. You're not going to, it doesn't make sense to run 50 miles on Saturday and 50 miles on Sunday just to have that experience.
Right.
So, I look at the law of diminishing returns in terms of what is this workout going to provide me mentally and physically, and how much further will provide benefit, if not throw me into a much higher category for risk of injury or sickness. So
it's interesting. There's no Macmillan book on how to run a perfect 100, as opposed to say like a your fastest marathon. It is still, I feel like the jury's still out. You have done you've had some incredible performances on very limited mileage too. I mean, the 22-hour AC comes to mind immediately, where you came into it undertrained. I mean, you admitted as much, and had a hell of a race. So, I mean, I feel like what may work well for one runner. Somebody like Dom comes to mind, where it's high mileage, and they are quality too for the most part. But that may necessarily not work for, like me. I feel like my body breaks down after 80-mile weeks. Like, it's just like you said, it's diminishing returns.
Yeah, you also have different physiology and different biomechanics, and Dom Grossman's a perfect example of someone who, the boy was built to run. He is a compact physique. He probably weighs 40 or 50 pounds less than me.
Yeah.
And if I try and do Dom Grossman kind of mileage, let alone at Dom Grossman kind of speed, which isn't presently possible for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to last very long in that training program. So, you have 1,000 different runners training for, all these different races. There's 1,000 different ways to be successful.
Yeah, for those that don't know Jimmy, I mean, he is not a little guy. He's, what are you, like 6'1"?
6'1", 180 plus.
Yeah, I mean, and the dude's run like a sub 3-hour marathon a few times, so it's not. I look at Jimmy and I think he's a bit of an anomaly too.
We're all an anomaly, Billy.
I'm the same. I'm 6'1", just under 6'1", and about 180 to 183 depending on the day, and I can't even get to that performance level. But I look at Jimmy D and goes, this guy's kicking ass. I can too. Like, it doesn't necessarily, just because we're bigger guys doesn't mean that we can't go do some pretty cool things. So, Jimmy, you inspire me because you give us a run for our money. You're fast and talented, and it's cool to watch you race. We had some questions in the chat room. I want to jump in there. I have to scroll back. Raul Borja. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Can Jimmy carry me through AC 100 in a baby Bjorn? I'm quite anxious about AC at this point. And Jimmy, can you carry all of us in a baby Bjorn? I'm going to add on to that question.
I'll be lucky if I can carry my own carcass through AC 2 weeks after Vermont as the 4th race in this. And I'm looking forward to the high number of friends that are going to be in the race, like Billy and Raul. And it'll be an exciting race for me because the time won't become important to me until I probably get into the last marathon of the race. Then I'll maybe start to focus on where I can finish. But yeah, I'm probably the one that will need to be carried through that event.
Well, last 25 miles, aka Jimmy time. That is where he excels.
It is, and the good thing about the AC specifically is that it's SoCal, so you're going to have all your friends, all your buddies out there supporting you and giving you whatever you need. When you've had experiences in races, you talked about the Tahoe Super Triple, and where your stomach just quit on you, or your legs just quit on you. When you hit these moments, and as someone who's run so many hundreds, and so many ultras just in general, what is that fine line between I need to stop and resulting in a DNF or anything like that versus pushing through whatever it is? I mean, are you in tune with your body now enough where you know, okay, this stomach issue is because I didn't hydrate enough, or I overhydrated, or not enough calories, and you can stick in the race, or are you still questioning those moments when they arise?
Well, I've DNF'd 4 times, including the last 2 times I attempted 50 miles. I don't feel like I've ever stopped for stomach issues. I feel like I've always had a game plan to get the stomach back together. Mm-hmm. My line of demarcation is when I'm having issues that are causing my body to be out of balance and it alters my gait. When I realize that I'm running on one side, favoring something a lot more, and I think to myself, will this lead to an overcompensation injury? Will this prevent me from running for the next 4 to 6 weeks after this event?
Gotcha.
And then it's a matter of weighing that against how much time and distance is remaining in the race. So, I got to mile 76 at the Oil Creek 100 in, I think it was 2010. 2009 or 2010 was the second year that race happened, and I could no longer run, and I was limping sort of on one side, and I went, you know what? It's just, this finish isn't going to be worth limping through another 8 to 10 hours just for, a buckle. I don't want to be, injured for the next couple of months. So that's my line. When I'm favoring something so significantly with too significant a time and distance remaining, I expect things to hurt a lot at the end of a 100-miler. I just try and make sure that I'm still running sort of even or hiking even.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Billy, is there a dog in your lap? What's going on?
It's one of Josh and Elizabeth little yappers. Hang on, quick shout out, by the way, to John Karavitis, PR'd at the Starved Rock Country Marathon in Ottawa, Illinois, 4:49:56. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him. Well done, dude.
Nice.
And let me see, there was a question that... Oh,
Jamil has a great question.
Yeah, real quick to you. Adam wanted to know when you're doing your first 100, and I know you mentioned last year, but then Jamil stepped in and said, come run Javelina. And I know
it's funny because I was going to suggest the same thing to Ethan. Javelina is a perfect race to start out with, man.
Yeah, I've actually heard the exact same thing. Javelina is the loop course, right? It's washing machine style, 15-mile loops out in the Arizona desert, I believe.
It's basically just a Halloween costume party where you happen to run a 100-mile race at the same time.
Yeah, I've heard great things about the race. It's for sure on that list of possible first hundreds. Pine to Palm has come to mind. AC has come to mind. AC is one of those. Yeah, it's pretty much one of the hardest 100s. Why not make it my first? And Cascade Crest, because that runs through my old stomping grounds when I was growing up through the Cascade Mountains up in the Pacific Northwest. So that's also on the list of possible contenders for my first. I haven't decided I wanted it to be this year. I just don't think it's going to fit with the race schedule that I currently have, so I'm probably going to push it to 2015 and just make sure that everything is good, body is good, training is good, and do the best I can do. And I want to film it, and I want to film the whole lead up to it as well. Actually, Jimmy, do you have anyone filming any of the races? Or are you bringing a GoPro? Or are you documenting any of this at all? Because this is kind of one of those. It comes so rarely when someone is able to get into these 6 races in a calendar year and run them all.
I have a GoPro and am planning to capture footage throughout each and every event and do a video blog here and there.
Nice. I would love to see that, and I know the people that watch this show and watch Ginger Runner videos and stuff. They would love to see that. It's just a great story. Jamil asked another really great question: beer or no beer the night before a 100? And a follow-up question: during a 100-mile race. Jimmy, you first.
I have had a beer during an ultramarathon. I have not had a beer during a 100-mile race. But there was a rumor circulating about the Rio de Lago 100 in 2011 when I came into an aid station screaming for beer. Someone pulled out a brown glass bottle. I chugged it and then just started violently throwing up for about 5 minutes and then dry heaved for another 5 minutes.
God.
And the guys who do the Ultra Runner podcast, they were the ones manning that aid station, and they were telling the story for a while about me screaming for beer and then throwing up for a while. And I said, when I came in, my stomach was already upset because I was overheating, and I was screaming for ginger beer.
Oh.
So I chugged one of those sort of Jamaican-style ginger beers, and it did not settle my stomach because I was overheating. And that was a rough go. But I'm planning to have a beer at the finish line of each one of the 6 races, and we'll see. about the night before. That's to be determined.
And Jimmy, Raul, sorry,
No.
Raul Borja has a question. He's asking, what's your recovery plan between these races? Do you have a specific plan in mind?
Well, I'm still going to have to coach in between each of the events. I'm going to have, 2 to 4 practices. So I'm planning to do a good bit of hiking uphill and running downhill, and I'm not going to worry about getting volume weeks in. It's just going to be kind of like running every other day and keeping the mileage low and focusing more on active recovery. Once the first race happens June 7th, I'm not training anymore. I'll just run by feel.
Nice. That's going to be good. We actually had a lot of really great questions. Chris Armstrong has been asking some serious questions about Taco Bell in the chat room, and I can't just ignore them. But he did ask, I believe it's tacos or nachos, Jimmy?
It depends on where they're coming from. I happen to like the Mexico City style tacos with the soft shell and just like steak, onions, cilantro. In the absence of those kind of tacos, it would probably be nachos in every other scenario.
Billy.
Jimmy's absolutely spot on. It absolutely depends where it's coming from. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big taco guy. Carne asada tacos. But yeah, you can't go wrong with nachos either.
For anybody local to the Los Angeles area, Tacos Por Favor is where it's at.
Yuccas in Hollywood.
We'll have to do a taste test one of these nights, Billy.
Dude, I'll take you to Yuccas. Yuccas will blow Tacos Por Favor out of the water, and I've had both, so I can speak.
Well, even if we don't agree on it, we're both still winning, having high quality tacos.
Yeah.
Nachos for me.
We don't care about you, Ethan.
Yeah, I was going to say no one cares about me, but I do enjoy a good taco, despite what that troll in the comments was saying. I love it.
Do we want to acknowledge him?
Nah, no big deal. I love a good trolling. It's YouTube. You're welcome to do whatever and say whatever you want. Yeah, now, Jimmy, we talked briefly about it earlier. Billy brought it up. You have been coaching people. The Coyotes has been around since 2008, I believe.
The training program started late 2008 to mid 2009. We have a Thursday morning social community run that's been around since 2005. So yeah, it's been going strong for anywhere between 6 and 9 years, depending on how you're measuring it.
When I first started getting into trail running out here in Southern California, it was actually right around the time I realized there were trails here. There was this long period of time when the only trail I thought was in LA was Runyon. So anytime you do Runyon, you're like, this is the worst trail in the world. There's women hiking up in high heels and skirts. Like this is terrible. But then you realize that there's so much more out there. Santa Monica Mountain, San Gabriel's, and beyond. When I first started researching this stuff, and I was so new, and I was trying to find people that I could run with, the Coyotes were the first group of people that I found, including you. And what you've been doing is fantastic. You're bringing people of all levels. You have experienced people like yourself, like Dom, like Guillaume, like all these guys who run incredible amounts of mileage every single week and win races. And you have the newcomers. You have the people who haven't experienced a trail run before, maybe never even raced a trail race before of any distance. They just want to get out there and be social. And I think that's really cool. And you are actually starting a new Coyote training program coming up mid-June. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that entails?
Yeah, our next training season will begin the second weekend of June, either the 14th or the 15th. And traditionally, Kate, my wife, and I will take on somewhere between 60 and 65 runners. And about a month before each program, which is coming up on us pretty quick, we put all of the information out there, and anyone who's alumni to our program has trained with us previously, they can sign up for the program a month in advance, and then we determine how many slots we have remaining for newcomers and first-timers to our program. So we have an application period that lasts about a week, And then we go through all of the people who are interested in training with us, and we look at the slots available, and we have the people that are the best fit for the team dynamics. The team environment is really important to us. And the thing that we measure is a person's attitude. It's really about the mentality of being a part of a team as opposed to one's individual needs over that of the entire group. So we sort of measure it that way. It's not about ability or experience. If someone is experienced enough to understand what they're about and they want to be a Coyote, then there's a pretty good chance that they will be the right fit for us.
And so that deals primarily with local runners, but do you also coach for anyone satellite? Do you have that as well?
I do have one-on-one clients, yeah. It's, again, a matter of time and availability. I usually only take on 5 or 6 individuals at a time outside of the group that we're already maintaining. So
gotcha.
When people come in and say, hey, I'd like to run my best 100-mile race or 50-mile race or my first 50-mile or 100-mile race, I kind of go back and forth with them a little bit to determine what they're looking for. My style is very different than a lot of other coaches that are out there, and I feel like if there's a good fit between me and the individual, I always recommend that people find a coach that's in their area. A good coach in your area, in my eyes, is better than a great coach remotely, because that one-on-one interaction in person is always ideal. But in the absence of having a group or a coach locally that's suitable to you, I definitely do take on an occasional one-on-one client.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to have a coach in person, especially if you need stride analysis or you just want to meet one-on-one and talk about goals. I think it's a much more personalized experience, especially if you're paying someone to be your coach. It's much easier to say, here's the money, I would love to see you in person, rather than just sending an email with a PayPal note attached to it or something like that. So I think that's really great. And I've seen you coach people of all different levels to huge successes. I read your Facebook posts and stuff like that, talking about people who have raced local races that started with 0 mileage, and you managed to coach them through amazing performances at ultra-marathon distances, marathon distances, and even beyond that. So I think it's really cool, and Jimmy Dean is by far one of the best coaches in Southern California. Look him up for sure if you guys are in the area, or even satellite. There was something in the chat room that got brought up that I wanted to bring up with you. I guess I also want to talk to you about your book. When I heard about this, I got super stoked. So you're writing a book about a lot of, I'm guessing a lot of your running, but you're holding off because you were going to publish it soon, but you're going to hold off until after the Six Hundo challenge, right? So you can kind of incorporate that as a part of the story.
Yeah, the book is called Making Molehills Out of Mountains, and it's about taking adverse situations and what a positive attitude and the right perspective will bring to your outlook. And it was sort of one of those things that I've been working on since last fall, and ideally we thought we would have it out by this month or next, and then I realized we would be missing a pretty big opportunity on a very literal making molehills out of mountains in this 6 100-mile race challenge. So
yeah,
we're going to live this one out and add a couple more chapters to the book. It's not a running book. It's going to be a lot about some adverse life situations that I've been through and how I've gotten through each one of those. And it's breaking it down into sort of actionable exercises and mental strategies that I think will help people in day-to-day life and in training.
I love it. I think that's a New York Times bestseller right there. And including this journey that you're about to take on is going to be epic. There's very few humans on the planet that have done it. So that's going to help set it off. And I'm really excited, man. Hey, Billy, you still playing with the dog in your lap?
Not on my lap. It's over there barking at something. I don't know how to shut it up. Sorry, man.
No, it's not your fault. I love dogs. Where's
I
Spirit?
think we need to bring the dogs into the chat, Billy. You should go get Charlie, so you can make
Yeah,
a cameo.
I think it's actually Gus. Hey, Gus, come here.
Yeah, and Jimmy, if you've got Spirit, I'm sure Spirit has some amazing words to relay to everybody. I think it's time for some segments. We're getting to that point in the show when it's segment time. And Jimmy, the first one actually involves you very specifically. It's called the Quickie Question Quiz. Basically what happens, I ask you, Jimmy, 10 or so questions, rapid fire. You just give me the answers as quickly as possible, and we move on to the next question. It's pretty easy. Are you you think you're ready for this?
I don't think that it's possible to be ready for this.
All right, good, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted you to say. Here we go. What was the first race you ever ran?
The Diablo Valley 10K. I was 9 years old.
Wow, you were a baby. Best trail you've ever run?
The Ray Miller Trail in Point Mugu, Southern California.
Oh yeah, beautiful. And it's still beautiful. I mean, despite the fact that it has been burned, it's still runnable.
I've seen some photos in the last couple of weeks of some of the most epic wildflowers post-fire, so it's pretty amazing.
That's great. First pet?
A hamster that I don't remember how old I was, but I named the hamster Jimmy. And, I then drowned the hamster because I was learning to swim underwater, and hamsters don't swim underwater too well.
Oh my God. That's adorable and terrifying. Who is your idol?
My idol is my wife, Kate.
Favorite post-race indulgence?
A freshly brewed West Coast India Pale Ale.
Nice choice. Your current running kicks, what are you running in?
I've been running in 4 different pairs of shoes. After a decade with the same brand, I've branched out, and the 2 that I'm really digging are the Pearl Izumi N2 Trail and the Hoka 11 Rapa Nui 2.
Good choices on both of those shoes. I've actually reviewed both of them and love them both. Let's see, Jessica Alba or Jessica Lawrence?
Ooh, Jessica Alba, because I've met her and she's pretty rad.
Ooh.
She lives in Brentwood.
You'll have to hook Billy and I up. Ice cream or froyo?
Froyo.
Froyo.
And your favorite ginger?
That would be Ethan Newberry.
It's the correct answer. You got the correct answer for all of them. Yay! That was the quickie question quiz with Jimmy Dean Freeman. And we're gonna do another segment. We haven't done this one in weeks because Chris Vargo is not here and has not been on the show in weeks. But
I don't know. I've seen Vargo in the chat room.
He's in the chat room, but he hasn't been on the show because he's been moving from Colorado to Phoenix and all that stuff. So Jimmy, you're gonna take over for Chris.
Okay.
We need like the Jimmy Dean Freeman tip of the day, but I'm gonna give you an introduction video. It's still Chris Vargo's video, but it's gonna be Jimmy Dean Freeman. Here it is.
Just a tip
with Chris Vargo.
That's me.
So obviously it's not Chris Vargo giving the tip today. Oh, look at that! It's Jimmy Dean and Kate. Oh, she made an appearance and then she disappeared.
See, you speak about your idols and then they walk in the front door.
So what would be your tip? If you could give people one tip, whether they're a beginner or an experienced person, what would it be?
My tip would be to not overlook the mental aspects of training and racing. That by focusing on your mental game, you can strengthen your physical game.
Love it. That's a way better tip than Chris ever gave us. That was excellent. It was well thought out and well worded. Billy, what's going on in the chat room?
We're talking tacos, man. I'm getting hungry.
I knew it. I was like, all I see in the chat room is taco and burrito talk, and now all I'm thinking about is, I can't wait to make tacos and make burritos tonight. This is a segment that we do every week. Well, we haven't done it every single week, but it's probably my favorite segment, called Runner's Rant.
Runner's Rant.
So the whole point of this segment is to help get out of our systems those things that maybe drive us a little bit crazy, to help to just put them out into the universe, to get them out of our souls and our bodies so they don't bug us anymore. And I'll start us off. If you guys want to chime in with one, I would love it. If not, I understand. We've had guests in the past who are like, I don't want to be negative, and I totally understand. Mm-hmm. So my runner's rant this week deals with the Kilian Jornet. I don't want to call them necessarily wannabes, but the people who will show up completely decked out in
Solomon.
Yeah, in like the $300 Solomon shorts and then the $200 Solomon tops, and you look at them and go, well, I'm looking at you, and I'm pretty positive you're not going to win the race. I think it's adorable what you're doing, but it's also like, save the money, like save the cash. You know, whether it's compression gear or anything like that, maybe that would help you, but you know, save that money and put it towards another race entry or something like that. So that's my runner's rant. Billy, do you have anything?
The only thing I want to rant about is my stupid knee and ITV, but other than that, I got nothing but love in life. Well, I every time I train for 100, I've signed up for 2, 3 now that I haven't been able to make to the starting line. I think the first one was Pine to Palm. It was in the original year. I was, you know, running, and it was 2010. Upping my volume, and then just I got runner's knee. My knees got swollen up one day, and I was like, I wasn't able to run that. And then same thing with San Diego 100. I think it was last year or the year before. I mean, it's frustrating, but I think I've been very, very conservative with it. So hopefully, knock on wood, I can start to ramp things up and get ready for Angeles Crest, where Jimmy and I will both be representing SoCal.
For sure, and I have to tell you, man, you're doing everything right. You're going to the right people. You're taking your time. You're taking care of it, and it's so early in the season that I'm like, you're doing exactly what you need to be doing, and you're going to be right as rain for AC come AC.
From your mouth, Ginger.
Yeah.
From your mouth.
And trust, when I say things, they come true. Jimmy, any runner's rant on your table today?
My main rant is about people who rant or complain about the same thing repeatedly and then don't themselves do anything to correct it. An example would be people who complain about trash on the trail, yet they run by trash on the trail, see it, and complain about it, but don't actually pick it up. So
I was just going to say that exact same thing. Someone in the chat room said gel wrappers on the trails rant. That was from Eric Slavky. And I totally agree. I think when you find garbage on the trail, it's like, why are you doing this?
I think if we give people the benefit of the doubt, like every one of us has been on a long run and gotten back from the long run and realized we have one less gel pack than we left with.
Yeah,
you know, stuff can fall out as you're jostling with things, and so I kind of look at every piece of trash that's out there as, oh, this got accidentally dropped by a hiker or a runner or a cyclist, and I'd make it a game to see how many pieces of trash I can bring back with me, and just, you know, make it a point to leave the trail better than we found it. And you know, I think it was Lily Tomlin was quoted, "I thought that somebody ought to do something about that, and then I realized that I was somebody."
I love that. I love that. And actually, I was guilty of it this weekend at the Who's in El Moro 50K. Billy caught me. I had a wrapper. I was eating a granola bar, and I put the wrapper in my pocket, and the wrapper fell. And Billy goes, "Ethan!" I turn around, points at the ground. I was like, oh, my God, I'm that guy. I'm that guy that dropped a wrapper on the trail. I went and picked it up.
No, it was an honest mistake.
But it doesn't matter.
That's just it. You know, if 100 people accidentally drop something and 100 other people complain about the trash that they saw but don't do anything about it, the problem will persist.
It's a nice little segue, and a little shout out to a video that Jimmy put together, the Coyote Bushido. If you haven't haven't seen it yet, it's a way of the trail runner or some mythical shit like that. But it's actually, there's some good information in there. Stuff like, you know, don't envy another runner, and you know, and be a good ambassador of the sport, et cetera, et cetera. So shout out to your video, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy, where can we find some of your videos? Give us some social networking sites that we can find Jimmy Dean on.
Well, the YouTube page, I believe, is Coach Jimmy Dean. I will go through and verify that momentarily. The blog is inspiredrunning.blogspot.com. I am on Twitter and Instagram as Coach Jimmy Dean. And then coyoterunning.com is where you find training program information and a way to reach out to us about coaching program stuff.
This is a great comment from Jesse. Jesse Haynes is in the chat room, and he says, I watched Jimmy pick up used toilet paper on the Miwok course. Jimmy, I have to give you props for that.
That has to be a pretty rare instance. I have a no used toilet paper pickup policy, but every once in a while I'll pick up a piece of tissue that I thought was not toilet paper. So,
oh, man.
Quick shout out to Jesse, by the way, who slated at the Who's in El Moro 50K. He would have, he was under the course record from last year too, and placed second in a very stout time.
And $1,000 in his pocket. Not bad, Jesse. Not
and
bad.
And Vargo, of course, who won the thing and pocketed a cool $1,500. Going back to Jimmy real quick, there is one more video I want to shout out, and that is Jimmy. I believe it was the very first year that the LA Marathon changed course to the Stadium to the Sea. Jimmy ran the thing, but as an interesting social media experiment.
Oh, we talked about this, Bill. That's right. You told me about it.
Yes, it's a must-watch. Jimmy and this is kind of all ties in together with all the burrito and taco and food talk, but Jimmy kind of along the course, because it's an awesome course, stops by some of the best and famous eateries along the way, and so he's essentially downing like hundreds of calories while he's running the actual course before the event, and it's a great watch. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
4,237 calories, Bill.
I knew you would know the exact number, Jim.
including 3 fish tacos from Burrito King.
2 of my loves
terrible.
merged into one video. Running and food, just like, yeah.
It's another one of our mottos, Ethan, is the worst ideas often lead to the best stories.
Just even dovetailing off of that is your Krispy Kreme donut challenge. Can you explain that? I wish I had the photo to show people, but they can find it on your Facebook. What is that challenge? I know what it is, but...
Well, the Krispy Kreme challenge, I think it started at a college in North Carolina, or a frat house in North Carolina. 2 dudes got into an argument about who was faster and who could eat more donuts quickly. So they ran from the frat house to a Krispy Kreme. They consumed a dozen original glazed and then ran back to the fraternity. The challenge has evolved over the last, decade or two. So it's now 2 miles, eat 12 original glazed Krispy Kreme donuts, and then run 2 miles again. The Coyote version of that had to involve trails. So we started at the top of a ridge, and we ran a mile down into a canyon and then climbed a mile back up to the ridge, ate our 12 donuts, ran a mile back into the canyon, climbed a mile back up to the ridge, and then had a baker's dozen 13th donut at the finish line. That 13th donut did not go very well for me. Notorious for having a pretty solid stomach. I'm now notorious for having one of the most documented epic projectile vomiting sessions on Facebook.
I am trying to find the photo as you speak. I'm scrolling through all of your Facebook photos looking for that. It's a terrifying photo that I just can't even stand to look at for longer than a couple of seconds.
It's like a good car accident. You don't want to look at it, but you can't help but look at it. And
no, Jimmy, I want to be able to enjoy Krispy Kremes in the future. I refuse to look at that thing again.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Most people have asked me if the photo was photoshopped because you have such a solid stream of liquefied donuts. It's going from my mouth to the ground, and there's a puddle that's splashing up. It doesn't look real.
It probably looks the same going into the vat. That's probably what it looks like.
There's a video that has a clip of
Hold on.
the video.
Oh my god. Oh my god. It's terrifying. Oh god, it's
Oh, dude, no, I'm not looking.
And that was only one of 4 of my letting go of the dozen donuts sessions.
Oh, now it's on my computer. I can't get rid of it. Damn you.
Jimmy.
It was great. It's great. But I love hearing these. Every once in a while, you'll post a Facebook status update of like, all right, here's the eating challenge for this in 2 weeks' time. Everyone get ready. Who's in? I'm like, I'm never gonna be in. I'm never gonna join that.
You should be in the Krispy Kreme challenge the next time that we do it, Ethan. It's coming up.
Oh hell no.
Yeah, I may
One
have
of my
to.
biggest fears is throwing up. It is by far one of my biggest
But this is one of those things we all hate throwing up in the space of having the flu, and it becomes a dreadful emotional experience. Throwing up just because you put too much in your stomach is in the space of an athletic competition is a completely different animal.
But this is an actual phobia for Ethan. He hasn't
It is.
disdain.
It is. I'm like, why am I in ultra running? Why do I do this? One of my biggest phobias is throwing up, and here I am.
Have you ever thrown up in a race?
No. I will do anything in my power to make sure that does not happen. Like, if I start feeling nauseous, I slow it down. Like, I'll pop in a ginger chew, and I'll slow it down to a snail's pace. Like, I'll do anything in my power to make sure.
What's so funny about that is some of my best races, my best 100-mile performances came in races that I threw up.
Yeah. I've heard that. I mean, I've heard that 100 times over. People talking about they get to a point when it would be much better if they did it. They do it, and then their race turns out amazing. Like, they spend a good 30 minutes taking care of getting rid of whatever they need to get rid of, and then resetting their system, and boom, they're like off to the races for another 50 miles, and it's great. Me trying to avoid that. Doing whatever I can to avoid that. Jimmy, before we let you go and we move into the post show where we'll go through the chat rooms and ask questions and stuff like that. We talked about where people can find you on social networks and stuff like that. Any parting words to those who are watching live? Any sage advice, words of wisdom, anything like that?
I always say that we're either improving or we're getting comfortable. So just taking on, a new level of discomfort, whether that be physical or psychological, and by taking on our fears, you can help evolve something and become a better version of yourself.
Love
so
it.
Say, Ethan, what fear can you take on today?
I'm not throwing up. That's for sure. I'll take on some fears tonight. I'm gonna have 2 beers instead of just one, I think. Billy.
Yeah, buddy.
Where can we find you? Where can we find you?
The usual places at LA Runner. That's
the usual places, Fifth Avenue and
RUNR, corner of Santa Monica and Vine. LARunner.com, and on my YouTube channel, I believe it's under Billy Yang Films, and yeah.
Nice. And I love that you use Cahuenga and Vine as your intersection, because that is an actual intersection where mischief goes down. I just drove by there today, and there's a cast of characters that hangs out on Santa Monica and Vine. I have to give go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. I have to give a major shout out to Jimmy Dean for joining us tonight. He's a hero of mine, a local SoCal guy, just incredibly talented. Cannot wait to follow along on his adventure this year. It's going to be pretty stellar, and I'm really excited to be able to witness 2 of those 6 races. I'll be at Western States watching. I'm not running, but I'll be watching and taking in the atmosphere, and I'll be at AC pacing Billy for a little bit as well.
Yes.
So can't wait to witness and see Jimmy Dean do his magic. For those of you who are watching live, I very much appreciate it. Thank you very much for tuning in Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific. A lot of you are return watchers, and I think that's just amazing. This is now a podcast, so if you are I guess if you're watching this later on YouTube as an archive version, you can also download the podcast. Just go to iTunes and search for Ginger Runner, and it pops up. All the episodes are up there. You can download them and listen to them on the run. Made it nice and easy for you in a little compact package you just download to your iPod and listen to my annoying voice talk to you while you run or do other things around your house. Who knows? You can find me on all the social networks, on Twitter, @TheGingerRunner, over on Facebook, Facebook.com/TheGingerRunner, on Instagram, @EthanNewberry, and, of course, this YouTube channel, YouTube.com/TheGingerRunner, where I post 2 videos every single week. The live show, of course, on Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific, and a review or a race video on Thursdays or Fridays. You guys are amazing. Subscribe. We'll see you guys next week for Ginger Runner Live, episode number 15. Stick around for the post show. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Nice show, guys. Good job, Jimmy.
Good job, Jimmy.
Having me on. Thanks for jumping in, Billy.
Yeah, you got it. Hey, I actually have to jump out right now. Josh and I are about to go for a run, but one of my favorite topics was starting to happen on the thread there, and that involves TP and basically shitting in the woods. So if you, I mean, Dave, Dave, and Varga the night before Who's in Immoral had a half-an-hour conversation about this alone. So this is one of my favorite topics. If you get into it, if you have any tips, stories, please go into it because people, I'm sure, are not grossed out enough by the vomit talk.
But
I do have to run.
Next week, episode number 15, we should talk about that because I think that would be awesome and hilarious.
Dedicate an entire episode about just shitting in the woods. But thank you, Ginger. Thank you, Jimmy. I do have to run. Thank you for everyone who watched, and yeah.
Hey, Billy, see you on the trails tomorrow morning.
Yeah, buddy. You got it. Take care, guys.
See you, man. Say hi to Josh. Nice. So, Jimmy, we're still live. We have post show here, so we can answer questions in the chat room as they pop up. You can hang around for as long as you want, or if you need to go, you can totally go. We just get a chance to go through the chat room and talk to those who were tuning in live. Yeah, there was a lot of taco talk.
Taco talk, TP talk, and they kind of can go hand in hand sometimes. Too many tacos, you're going to be searching for the TP.
You're going to be doing one or the other. Oh my God, they're scrolling through so fast. Jimmy is an awesome coach. Oh, there it goes. He coached me through one of my first marathons. That was from Raul.
Yeah, Raul was one of my athletes when I was coaching a team and training marathon team probably 10, 11 years ago now.
Wow, that's awesome. Do you still do team and training stuff, or is that kind of...
Actually, I transitioned from team and training marathon teams in 2008 to Coyote training programs. So I actually had made a recommendation to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society that they should have an ultra running program, and they said that wouldn't ever happen. And so I completed my coaching stint with them, and as fate would have it, they now have an ultra running program.
I was going to say, they do have one.
But had they not turned me down back then, the Coyote training programs might not exist. So
that's true. Absolutely. And just reading about the Coyote training program, I love it. I think it's great. Do you take a lot of, is it normally first-timers getting into ultra or moving on in a distance, or is it all levels?
You know, every season is unique. We say that we're for intermediate and advanced level runners and adventurous beginners. So we aren't going to turn someone away based on their experience level or their ability level. We really look for the attitude and the mentality getting into the team dynamics. So, you know, this season we've got some people that are training for their first 100-mile race. We also had some people that were training for their first half marathon.
Yeah.
So it spans the gambit.
That's a gambit. From Russell Anderson, favorite running adventure movies? Ooh, that's a good question.
You know, what's interesting is I watch a lot of non-running movies to sort of get my running mental game together. But if I were to restrict it to running movies, St. Ralph is one that not a lot of people have heard of or seen, about a young boy who runs the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's a sort of a Canadian independent film. I really thought it was charming and funny. Chariots of Fire is a staple. Without Limits, is the better of the Steve Prefontaine films.
The one with Bruce Dern where he runs the quad or the Dipsy. What movie is that? Do you remember that one?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's great. It's I don't
I
think
love
that
that we're
Billy.
still getting the audio feed from Billy and Josh.
Yeah, I don't think they know that they're still on, and I don't want to kick them off. I think this is just.
This is classic.
We'll
Billy
just leave
without his
it.
shirt, Josh
Yeah.
just sort of wandering through.
Billy has no idea how to turn the camera off, so we're just gonna let that happen.
This is quite a little homoerotic show we got going on here.
You guys.
Only in the post show.
See you, Billy.
See you guys.
Hey, Billy. Oh, there they go. They figured it out. Yeah, I forget the name of it. Someone will probably have to chime in the chat room, but it's Bruce Dern. I think it was shot in the late 70s, and it's about him training for the Dipsy at like 55 years old or something. Not a documentary. It's definitely a nonfiction or fiction. It's a fiction movie, but it's great. It's super well shot and inspiring, and love it. That's one of my favorite.
Ethan, I'm seeing a couple of questions coming up here. I was going to bounce and address them. Mr. Noodle Soup says, what do I do to keep from getting injured and getting issues like runner's knee? The main thing that I do is I let my body dictate my training. I don't let my training calendar dictate what happens with my body. And right now I'm feeling like borderline in terms of how my low back feels. So I'm going to go through with a personal trainer with a running background over the next 2 weeks, and we're going to do 4 sessions to kind of get my strength imbalances under control.
Shimon?
No, Shimon's an amazing physical therapist. I'm going to be working with June Casaria, one of the top personal trainers in LA. And then I also, think rest is a really important factor. I'm not afraid to take 1 or 2 days off in a week, and I just took 4 days off, unless you count the 3 hours of dancing at the wedding. I didn't run since last Thursday, so
that always takes its toll too. You're always surprised, like, oh, I can run 50 to 100 miles, but yet 5 minutes of dancing, and I'm dripping.
Yeah, there's different endurance. Jesse Haynes. His question about main goal of finishing all 6. Time goal. In an ideal world, my time goal is to finish the 600s in less than 6 days cumulatively. A pipe dream would be to finish all 6 in sub 24. With Angeles Crest and Wasatch, I don't think that is a realistic goal for me. And I think that if I went for that goal, I would put the entire 6 in jeopardy. So I think I'll be around the 20-hour mark on an average day at Old Dominion in Vermont. At Western States, I anticipate being around the 22, 23-hour mark. Angeles Crest is a complete wild card as number 4. Wasatch could take me 30 to 35 hours. Heaven forbid 35, 59. And Leadville, I did in 27:40 last year. I think I can get a little closer to 24 this time around with a little more experience. So finishing it in less than 6 days would put me historically high on the 36 people who have finished these 6 races in the same calendar year. So I'm kind of looking at the history of the challenge as opposed to each individual race.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Are you going into it looking at like a look at Leadville as, I don't want to call it easy. It's not easy. It's still 100 miles and it's at altitude. But I would say technically it's not a very technical course. Would you look at Leadville as kind of like the recovery 100-mile race?
No, I don't think there's any such thing as a recovery. You could do the easiest course in the world, and 100 miles is still going to take its toll on you. So just respecting the distance and kind of staying within myself. Leadville served me up a big dose of humble pie last year.
Oh, yeah.
After going sub 24 at AC, I ran my slowest time in any 100-mile race that I finished at Leadville. So I'm just trying not to take any of the hundreds for granted and look at what the challenges of each one will be so that I can respect the course and respect the distance and look at this thing as a bigger picture event, not just individual races.
For sure. Jamil asked earlier, no beer tonight, and I actually I was drinking a beer. It's Magic Hat Dream Machine. I think Magic Hat is it's out of Vermont. It just happened to be in the fridge, so I had one of these. And I think Jimmy was drinking something a little bit healthier and more delicious.
I have a Suja cold pressed juice. It's called the King of Greens. After drinking quite a bit of beer and whiskey at the wedding this weekend in Champaign, I figured I'd try and get myself back onto the healthy track for a couple of weeks.
That actually sounds delicious. It said apple and cucumber, and what else is in there?
Yeah, apple, cucumber, celery, kale, collards, spinach, lemon, ginger, and a couple of other super greens.
That sounds delicious. Hawk Daddy asked Jimmy, in your opinion, what shoe company gives back the most to the ultra community?
You know, I think that each and every shoe company exists to profit, and I've seen companies that make a great show of giving back to the shoe community, and behind the scenes maybe don't so much. So I'm going to abstain from that question. At this point, you know, you have to realize that each corporation is there to serve a purpose, and some of them take great care of runners, and some of them pretend to take great care of runners. So, you know, the important thing is finding a shoe that works for you and not getting stuck on brand.
Yeah, I totally agree. Being brand loyal is you know, good for some people, I'm sure, but you have to understand that it's all marketing. It's all a giant marketing machine, and shoe companies obviously want to sell shoes. I tend to think some shoes are better than others. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're marketed to me better. It just means that they fit my foot better. And I think that's the most important thing, is trying on everything and determining what shoe works for you. I mean, that question pops up in my feed all the time. I get emails, maybe 5 to 10 a day, saying, what is your favorite road shoe? Or what is your favorite trail shoe? Or review this particular shoe. And my response in most cases is no response, which I apologize for. But the reality is, it's like I can't tell you what my favorite road shoe is, because that could change tomorrow. It's changed, you know, 3 or 4 times in the last 2 months. It really comes down to what you put on your feet and what works for you. All marketing aside, you know. I agree.
2 Feet from Anywhere asked, what about Oil Creek makes it appealing to me? It's a small town race that has a tremendous amount of support from the local community, so it doesn't feel like it's organized like a small town race. It's got tremendous support, and it's a loop course. You do a 50K loop 3 times, and then you have a little tag at the end to make up the 100-mile distance. It's technical, it's challenging. The woods that it happens in are haunted. My best running hallucination in the history of ultra running for me happened in the woods of Oil Creek. So it was a very satisfying finish and a very disappointing DNF the following year. So it's one that I have high on my list to return to at some point, to have a third time's a charm sort of experience there.
That sounds awesome. Haunted woods? Yeah. That sounds
Oh man, it's some creepy stuff happened there out in those woods, and you know, the woods are creepy by themselves. You run through a cemetery and past this echoing haunted bridge, and the daytime loops are fun. The nighttime loops are creepy.
Wow. That sounds awesome. I would totally do that in a heartbeat. Any tips for Leadville first-timers?
Yeah, there's a lot of runnable terrain at Leadville. It's called the Leadville Trail 100, yet out of all of the 100-mile courses, it had more road, both paved and sort of like Jeep trail dirt roads, than any other race that I've run. So
is that to accommodate the 30,000 people that run it?
No, you know, that race is one of the originals. So I feel like the course has remained primarily intact. And they've said that the Leadville 100-mile trail run and the 100-mile bike ride sort of saved that town, which was, you know, a defunct mine a mining town that had sort of hit hard times. Last year, the race has become a polarizing event. People sort of either vehemently hate it and rail against it and call it a race that sort of sold its soul to the corporate machine, and then other people go out there and think that the race has a lot of heart and a lot of charm. And as with any good thing that exists, more people are going to want to do it, and as more people get involved, it is easy to water down the core values of what got it established. But as you get a new race director or a new organization managing a race, they're going to hear the feedback from the community, and they're either going to make adjustments or they're not. And I actually have a high level of optimism about how the race will go this year, in contrast to last year's event. But the tips are to run when you can, to not worry about hiking a few miles here and there, because there's a lot of good runnable. You can run a lot of the last 40 miles if you've managed yourself well, and learning to run downhill on a technical single-track trail and avoid 500 runners and 500 additional pacers with those runners in order to make time cutoffs at mile 50 and 60. That's also a skill that one should be comfortable with, being able to run downhill around people such that you don't have to stop and pull off to the side of the trail 500 times.
In that particular case, that actually brought up a question. The right of the trail goes to those who are ahead of you, right? So if you're, because that pass, you go up and over it, or do you go?
Yeah. The general trail etiquette is right of way is to the athlete who is climbing. In Leadville, they have specifically stated in their race rules that the runner who is ahead has right of way. So it doesn't matter if you're traveling uphill or downhill. Now the key there is the runner has the right of way. Their pacer does not. So
gotcha.
You should work on avoiding the runner and let the pacer of that runner know to get the F out of your way.
That's great advice, for sure. Someone asked, should I invest in a trail running shoe, or would decent running shoes do the job for Cactus to Clouds? Have you done Cactus to Clouds yet, Jimmy?
Ironically, I was at that trailhead this weekend. I was in Palm Springs acting as the wedding officiant for...
That's right. Reverend Jimmy Dean. Yeah.
The Reverend. And I went to check out where the Cactus to Clouds trail started. So based on my knowledge of that trail, it's somewhat rocky and technical. I think it's a personal preference thing. Getting a shoe that has a little bit more trail tread and maybe a little cushioning and protection. The two shoes that I'm running in right now have both of those, the Pearl Izumi N2 Trail and the Hoka 1-1 Rapa Nui 2. But again, it's about finding the shoe that fits you and works best for you. So, getting in to try on a few different things. People run that trail in a minimal shoe and have, it's just it's a preference thing. So I'd recommend a trail shoe for the trails, but like Chris Vargo said, if a road shoe works best for you and that's what you prefer, the feel of that shoe, then that's what you should use.
Yeah, spirits of nature. If you are a more minimal favoring runner to begin with, or someone who runs on trails in road shoes anyways, then stick with what you know. I've done that trail. It is technical, and there are scramble sections. There are sections where it's loose. So I would recommend anything with a bit of a trail tread for sure. I did it in Hoka's and wish I didn't, because there was too much midsole material for certain sections. I would have done it in like the Wild Horse or the Solomon Sense Pro, the Pearl Izumi N1 or N2, one of those trail shoes that has enough tread on the bottom to help you get through the scree sections. It was really helpful to have a little bit of tread on the bottom. So Chris Vargo doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He has no idea. He just has no idea. All right. Sometimes I need to refresh the comments because that's always a problem with the YouTube comment system. I always pick up other people's trash. I don't understand the trash thing either. It's the Boy Scout mentality in me. Rim to
I'm
rim
going,
to rim.
going back to Patrick Forsyth's comment about advice on reliable nutrition for race day,
There you go.
and as it relates to bathroom emergencies.
Hmm.
You know, you can't anticipate when you're going to have a bathroom emergency out on the trails, but it's a leave no trace policy. So the proper etiquette for number 2 on the trail is to dig a 6-inch hole and then to cover up your feces and then to pack out the toilet paper. In a long race, I like to carry baby wipes in a Ziploc bag, and I double bag it so that they stay moist, and then I'll use the baby wipes and then I'll pack it in that Ziploc bag and you know, double zip it so it doesn't come into contact with anything, and then I'll pack that out. As far as reliable nutrition, it's all about trial and error in training and learning what works with your digestive system, because what works for one athlete's not going to work for the next. You know, I like to go with liquid nutrition for as long as I can until the second half of the race starts to get a little mentally wonky, and then I'll do some chicken noodle soup and Coca-Cola. But, you know, my system will work fine on one thing in one race, and then the very next race, that thing will work for 10 miles and then stop working. So experimenting and training with a lot of different fuels, Patrick, will give you a few things that you can go to. And then, you know, on race day, it's a little bit of luck. Sometimes your bathroom emergency isn't related to what you're eating on race day, but what you ate the 2 days before. So cleaning up your diet the week of your race leading into it is desirable.
Yeah, and I've always said that just with whatever your diet has been leading up to that race day, don't necessarily change it drastically because you don't want to mess up your system like the day before. You see people who maybe don't eat pasta, but then the day before a marathon they'll eat a big plate of pasta just because it's something that people say that you need to do, but it might mess up your system the next day. Just stick with what you're used to, or stick with what you know, or like Jimmy said, for that week or whatever before the race, you eat clean, let your system adapt to that, or eat typical to what you might eat on race day, so your body is just already used to it. And yeah, I've been doing the liquid nutrition thing, and it's been working for me. But even just this last weekend, just doing a long run with it was like, oh man, why is it not working like it normally would? And I think it just depends on that particular day, what your system wants to do. It could be different. But I think where that training with different stuff, whether it's, you know, nut butters or goos or gels or liquid nutrition or pretzels or potatoes or whatever, I think training with a little bit of everything through that training process will help you on race day know that you can handle certain things at certain times. Or, you know, I've been doing liquid nutrition now, but I can handle a potato at an aid station, or I can handle watermelon. I know that my system's not going to go totally wonky if I eat watermelon or Coke. You know, so trial and error, experimenting nonstop. Have you done rim to rim to rim, Jimmy?
I have run across the Grand Canyon 4 times.
Wow.
The 2 times that I've gone out there to do it, I've gone with people who are not ultra runners.
Okay.
So we did rim to rim and stayed at the North Rim Lodge and had a great steak dinner with an IPA to wash it down, and got up early the next morning and ran back.
That's awesome. What a great way to do it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it that way. So I have not yet done rim to rim to rim, but I've run from one rim to the other and then back the next morning 2 different times.
I never, like, in my mind I'm going, it's either rim to rim or rim to rim to rim. But what you just described is like, that seems so much better. Because
It was a lot of fun.
A nice dinner. And
we did it with a small but dynamic group. Ran it with my wife Kate, Jamie Burtis, and Katie DeSplinter one year.
Mm-hmm.
And the year before that, I did it with Topher Gaylord and his wife Kim, and Topher's brother. And it was both times absolute hoot, but you really have to plan that in advance because the North Rim Lodge is only open between mid-May and I think mid-October, and you don't want to run that in the middle of the summer. So
Not at all.
You gotta book that hotel like a good 6 months in advance, so it takes a little bit more planning.
I just scrolled away. Someone had your donut video. They couldn't
Nice.
share it they had the actual throwing up donut video. I don't think I've seen that, and I don't think I want to get close to that video. Um, so I don't think I will. If you guys have any last minute questions for Jimmy, ask them now. We're gonna wrap this up here just because we're at about an hour and a half, and the post show's been a little bit longer. Oh, they said the Bruce Dern movie was On the Edge. The movie's called On the Edge.
We'll have to go
Highly
check it out.
recommend it, Jimmy. Yeah, for sure. I think it was on Netflix for a while. It might still be, but you would get to. He was halfway through the Dipsy race at the end. You'd get like into the race, and all of a sudden the video would just freeze, and the audio would keep going. And Netflix had for some reason had uploaded a really wonky movie file, so you could never finish the movie. I hope it's since been fixed. But On the Edge. And Russell was talking about Unbreakable, Killian Summits of My Life, Touching the Void. I actually just watched The Summits of My Life. Have you seen those yet?
I have not seen The Summits of My Life yet.
The second one, there's two out right now. The second one is where he does the Matterhorn. That
That
world record
sounds like
Matterhorn.
really interesting. I remember when he did that and it was announced, and that sounds really exciting. Watching the way that Killian comes down some of those steep technical descents it's like watching, a ballerina that's trained her whole life and is in the Joffrey Ballet. It's remarkable to see what he does.
And this movie, the last 20 minutes of it are all of that. And you're just watching this footage of him going down. These are rock walls. These are rock climbing walls, and he's just running down them. It's one of the most terrifying and exciting things that you can see on film. It's really, really cool. So if you get a chance to watch that, the second Summits of My Life, it's really, really good. Awesome. Well, I'm going to do one last refresh here because I know some people had some questions for JDF. Yeah, there's the one about the cactus to clouds. Yeah, for some reason my thing isn't updating.
I saw Raul said something about shovel or long nails.
Oh,
I actually paced someone one time that I was required to carry a small shovel.
really?
But in general, if I'm going to drop a deuce in the woods, I use a stick to dig up a small hole.
That seems way more efficient than carrying a shovel or using your nails. That sounds
That would be
terrible.
difficult, unless you're like my dog Spirit, who's amazing at digging up holes with her nails.
Is she?
Yeah,
Oh, I miss Spirit. How is she?
Spirit's doing awesome. She's a great travel dog. She went with us to the wedding this weekend and
Oh, she did. That's good.
chilled in the air-conditioned hotel room because she doesn't like anything over about 70 degrees. But no, Spirit's doing great, man.
Awesome. Well, dude, I very much appreciate you dropping by and taking some time out of your evening with your lady and your doggy to join us on Ginger Runner Live. It was great, man.
Thanks for the invite. We'll have to get back together after a couple of these races, maybe at the 1/3 and 2/3 point, and talk about some of the carnage that's happening out there.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Absolutely.
Thanks to everybody who
Dean.
hung out with us.
Absolutely. Jimmy Dean Freeman, everybody, an amazing runner, just a really nice dude and a great coach, amongst many other resume bullet points. Go check him out on all the social networks. You can see, catch him on Twitter at Coach Jimmy Dean, pretty much across the social networks, including Instagram. And on YouTube, you said it was at Coach Jimmy.
At YouTube, it's just Coach Jimmy.
Okay, Coach Jimmy on YouTube.
Coach Jimmy on YouTube, Coach Jimmy Dean on Twitter and Instagram, Jimmy Dean Freeman on Facebook, although the Coyote Running Facebook is probably a better place to get the running information. And inspiredrunning.blogspot.com is where I will be posting blogs and probably video blog links to the YouTube when this whole thing kicks off.
Hell yeah, man. Love it. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us, dude. Appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in for the post show and sticking around and asking your questions and getting the answers, hopefully, that you needed. We'll see you guys next week, Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another Ginger Runner Live. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
See you later.